Persian Gulf, January 3rd, 2020. Local time 0047. A convoy of 2 armored vehicles was advancing through the streets of Baghdad, traveling from Baghdad International Airport toward the city center. Speed 45 kilometers per hour. Security minimal. In the lead vehicle sat Major General Qasem Soleimani, commander of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force, the second most powerful man in Iran, architect of Iranian military strategy across the Middle East. Soleimani had just arrived on a commercial flight from Damascus. No military aircraft, no official delegation, just a passport and a security detail. He was in Baghdad for meetings, coordinating with Iraqi militia leaders, planning operations against US forces. Standard business for a man who'd been doing this for 22 years. The convoy wasn't concerned about threats. This was Iraqi territory. Iranian-backed militias controlled the area. The route had been used dozens of times before. Soleimani sat in the back seat, checking messages on his phone, responding to commanders across Syria, Lebanon, Yemen, Iraq. But he had no idea he'd been tracked for the last 14 hours. 400 kilometers away, at Creech Air Force Base in Nevada, an MQ-9 Reaper drone operator sat in a climate-controlled room, staring at screens, watching infrared feeds from 8,000 meters above Baghdad. The drone had been circling the airport for 6 hours, waiting. The operator, Captain Sarah Chen, had been briefed at 18 Sured the previous day. The mission parameters were clear: track, confirm identity, wait for authorization. She'd been flying Reapers for 4 years, conducted 127 combat missions, fired 34 Hellfire missiles, killed 89 confirmed targets. But this time was different. This wasn't a Taliban fighter. This wasn't an ISIS commander. This was a serving general of a nation-state military, a government official, someone who traveled with diplomatic credentials. Soleimani was designated a terrorist by the United States. His Quds Force was responsible for supplying weapons that had killed over 600 American soldiers in Iraq. His militias had attacked US embassies. His operatives had planned bombings across the Middle East. But he was also a uniformed military officer of the Iranian government. Killing him wasn't just a tactical strike, it was an act of war. President Donald Trump had made the decision 72 hours earlier, after Iranian-backed militias attacked the US embassy in Baghdad. After intelligence confirmed Soleimani was planning additional attacks on American personnel. The order was classified, shared with fewer than 20 people. The authorization code was transmitted directly to US Central Command. At 0039, Chen received confirmation. The voice came through her headset. Clear, calm, final. Positive ID on target Omega. You are cleared to engage. Chen's hands moved into action across the controls. The Reaper's targeting pod rotated, locked onto the lead vehicle. The MQ-9 carried 4 AGM-1114 Hellfire missiles, each weighing 45 kilograms, each containing a 9-kilogram high-explosive anti-tank warhead, each capable of penetrating 1,000 millimeters of armor. The targeting system calculated the vehicle's speed, predicted its position 12 seconds into the future, adjusted for wind, for altitude, for weapon ballistics. A green square appeared on Chen's screen. Target lock achieved. She moved her hand to the trigger, a small red button on her control stick. Soleimani had been on US target lists since 2003. Multiple administrations had considered killing him. All had concluded the risks were too high. Assassinating a senior Iranian official would trigger retaliation, potentially escalate into full-scale war, destabilize the entire region. But Trump's calculus was different. He believed in deterrence through strength. He thought that killing Soleimani would demonstrate American resolve. He believed it would force Iran to reconsider its proxy warfare strategy. At 0047, Chen pressed the trigger. The first Hellfire missile dropped from the Reaper's wing pylon. Its rocket motor ignited, accelerated to 40-50 meters per second. Time to impact 8 seconds. Soleimani was still reading his phone, scrolling through intelligence reports from Syria, A message from Hezbollah leadership in Lebanon. Updates on weapons shipments to Yemen. His security chief sat in the passenger seat, scanning the streets, looking for threats. Nothing unusual appeared. Traffic was light. No suspicious vehicles. No roadblocks. At 0:47:08, the Hellfire struck the vehicle's roof. The shaped charge warhead detonated very violently on contact. The explosion directed its energy downward, through the armor, into the passenger compartment. The temperature inside the vehicle reached 3000 degrees Celsius in 0.3 seconds. Soleimani died instantly right there. Everyone else in the vehicle had died with him. The second vehicle, traveling 30 meters behind, immediately stopped. Chen was already tracking it. The targeting pod had automatically shifted to the next threat. Second vehicle stopped. 4 personnel exiting. The voice in her headset responded. Engage. Second Hellfire away. It struck the vehicle before the occupants could take cover. Another explosion. Another fireball. Among the dead was Abu Mahid al-Muhandis, deputy commander of Iraqi Popular Mobilization Forces, Soleimani's closest Iraqi ally. Total time from first launch to second impact, 14 seconds. The Reapers circled overhead for another 20 minutes, confirming no survivors, transmitting real-time footage back to Central Command. At 01:12, Chen received new orders. RTB mission complete. She turned the Reaper toward its base in Qatar. Flight time 90 minutes. She'd just killed the second most powerful person in Iran, and the world didn't know yet. The Iranian government learned about Soleimani's death at 02:30, not from their own intelligence, from social media. Videos of the burning vehicles had been posted on Twitter. Iraqi witnesses filming the aftermath. Bodies burned beyond recognition. Debris scattered across 50 meters of highway. Within 30 minutes, Iranian state media confirmed it. Major General Qasem Soleimani martyred in American terrorist attack in Baghdad. The response was immediate. Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei issued a statement at 04. A very severe revenge awaits the criminals who stained their hands with his blood. Iranian Revolutionary Guard commanders held emergency meetings. War plans were reviewed. Target lists updated. Retaliation scenarios analyzed. The question wasn't whether Iran would respond, it was how it would respond.
A direct military confrontation with the United States would be suicide. Iran's conventional forces were inadequate. Its air force was obsolete. Its navy would be destroyed in hours. But Iran specialized in asymmetric warfare, proxy militias, terrorism, cyber attacks, strategies that didn't require winning a conventional war. Iranian military leadership had 3 primary options: attack US bases in Iraq using Iranian-backed militias, high deniability, low risk of escalation, but also low impact; target US naval assets in the Persian Gulf. High impact, but extremely high risk, would certainly trigger massive American retaliation. Launch ballistic missiles directly at US military installations. Maximum symbolic impact. Clear message of Iranian capability. Moderate escalation risk. If carefully managed. Iranian leadership chose the third option, but with a critical modification. The attack would be designed to avoid American casualties, to demonstrate capability without forcing the United States into a full-scale response. It was a calculated risk, a message written in explosives. We can hit you, but we're choosing not to kill you. This time, at 17:30 on January 7, Iranian Revolutionary Guard aerospace forces began preparing ballistic missiles at 3 launch sites. 11 Fateh 313 short-range ballistic missiles, range 500 kilometers, payload 650 kilograms, accuracy 10 meters SEAP. The targets were selected carefully. Al-Assad Air Base in western Iraq. 1,500 American troops stationed there. Runways, hangars, command facilities. But Iranian intelligence had been monitoring the base for weeks. They knew the layout, knew where Americans slept, knew which buildings were occupied at night. At Al-Assad Air Base, the situation was tense, but under control. After Soleimani's assassination, US Central Command had raised the alert status for all bases in Iraq, enhanced security measures, increased patrols, hardened defensive positions. Colonel Michael Henderson commanded the 82nd Airborne Battalion stationed at Al-Assad. He'd received classified briefings every 6 hours since January 3. The message was consistent: expect retaliation, prepare for missile attacks, maximize force protection. On January 7 at 22:00, Henderson received updated intelligence. Iranian ballistic missile units observed at launch readiness. Probable launch window: next 12 hours. He immediately ordered all personnel into hardened shelters, concrete bunkers designed to withstand indirect fire. The base had early warning systems, Iran TPY-2 radar stationed in the region, capable of detecting ballistic missile launches at ranges exceeding 1,000 kilometers. The warning time from launch to impact would be approximately 11 minutes. Enough time to take cover, not enough time to evacuate. At 01:12, the Iran TPY-2 radar detected multiple launches from western Iran. Missile alert: multiple launches detected. Bearing 082. Range 470 kilometers. Impact time 11 minutes. Henderson was already moving. Activate incoming fire alarms. All personnel to shelters. Now. Sirens screamed across the base. Soldiers ran from barracks, from command posts, from recreation facilities. Specialist Marcus Webb was in the gym when the alarm sounded. He grabbed his gear and ran. The shelter was 200 meters away. He reached the shelter entrance. Concrete stairs leading underground. 20 other soldiers were already inside. At 01:23:15, the first missile impacted. The explosion was massive. A Fateh 313 warhead detonating on the base's northern runway. The blast created a crater 8 meters wide and 3 meters deep. The shockwave rippled across the base. Windows shattered. Vehicles were thrown sideways. Inside the shelter, Webb felt the ground shake. Dust fell from the ceiling. The lights flickered. "Stay down," someone yelled. 5 seconds later, the second impact. This one hit a maintenance hangar. The building collapsed. Twisted metal and concrete. Then the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. The bombardment lasted 6 minutes. 11 missiles, 11 impacts, explosions every 30-40 seconds. The sound was literally like the apocalypse. Each explosion shook like an earthquake. The pressure waves compressed the air. It made breathing difficult. Webb pressed himself against the concrete wall, hands over his ears, eyes closed. At 01:29, silence. Henderson waited 2 minutes, then gave the all clear. Soldiers emerged from the shelters, looked at their base. It was destroyed. Runways cratered, hangars collapsed, vehicles burning, fires spreading across fuel storage areas. But as Henderson conducted accountability checks, he realized something remarkable. No casualties, not a single American soldier killed. Dozens injured from flying debris and shockwaves, but nobody dead. The missiles had been accurate, very accurate. They'd hit their targets precisely, but those targets had been carefully selected to avoid American personnel. Iranian commanders had deliberately aimed at empty buildings, at runways, at vehicle parks. They'd sent a message: "We can hit you anywhere, but we're choosing not to kill you." President Trump received the briefing at 18:45 EST on January 7. 11 ballistic missiles struck Al-Assad airbase. Extensive damage to infrastructure. 0 American fatalities. Approximately 50 injured. None critical. His national security team had prepared response options, ranging from limited airstrikes to full-scale invasion. But Trump made an unexpected decision. He would de-escalate. The next morning, he addressed the nation. "Iran appears to be standing down. No Americans were harmed. We will impose additional economic sanctions, but we do not seek war." The crisis was over, not because of military victory, but because both sides had decided the costs of escalation were too high. Iran had demonstrated capability, proven they could strike American bases with precision, satisfied domestic demands for revenge. The United States had eliminated its primary adversary without suffering retaliation casualties, avoided a wider war, maintained strategic deterrence. Both sides claimed victory, but the truth was more complex. Soleimani's death created a vacuum in Iranian military strategy. His replacements were competent, but lacked his experience and regional connections. Iranian proxy operations became less coordinated, less effective. Iraqi militias lost cohesion. Hezbollah reduced operations. Syrian campaigns stalled. Years later, CIA analysis concluded that Soleimani's assassination set back Iranian regional ambitions by at least 5 years. The attack on Al-Assad airbase, despite causing 0 fatalities, cost $100 million in infrastructure damage. 12 aircraft were destroyed. Runways required complete reconstruction, but the strategic message was clear. Iran could be hurt, its leaders could be killed, its retaliation could be absorbed. In Tehran, military planners revised their calculation. The United States had crossed a line that previous administrations wouldn't cross. The rules had changed. Captain Chen never spoke publicly about the mission. The operation remained classified for 3 years. In 2023, she gave a single interview to a military journal. "Do you regret?" Chen was quiet for a moment. "I executed a lawful order. I confirmed the target. I followed rules of engagement. Would you do it again?" "If ordered, yes." The Reaper drone that killed Soleimani is still operational, stationed at an undisclosed base in the Middle East. Its tail number has been redacted from all public records. Its mission history classified. Qasem Soleimani spent 22 years building Iranian power across the Middle East. He survived wars, sanctions, assassination attempts. He was killed in 8 seconds by a missile launched from 8,000 meters away, controlled by an operator 6,400 kilometers distant. Modern warfare isn't about who has the most soldiers, it's about who has the longest reach. And on January 3, 2020, the United States demonstrated its reach extended everywhere. The question Iran asks itself every day since, who's next?